So we're sitting down with Scott Palmer, Artistic Director, and Jennifer Dick, the Director from Glasgow, our visiting guest, who is directing Shakespeare's R&J for us, which is our fourth show of the 2011-12 season. And we want to talk a little bit about the play. Why don't you introduce it and tell us a little bit what the play is about?
It is an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet set in an all-boys, restrictive, religious boarding school where Shakespeare, we get the impression that Shakespeare is banned, it is forbidden material. And in our production, one of the boys secretly finds a copy of Romeo and Juliet and gathers a group of his friends in the middle of the night in a secret part of the school to read and enact the play.
Interesting. So 4 young men enact all the parts.
They do.
And how do they try and convey the spirit of the original?
Absolutely.
How does that happen?
Absolutely. I think, well, in the same way that you would with any Shakespeare production, you are true to the text. Mm-hmm. And I think that Shakespeare lovers will find that the essence, the heart of Romeo and Juliet is contained in this adaptation. And the way that you tell that story is by being true to that story. And I hope that we are true to that story.
And it's also very bag and baggage because it's a major adaptation. So there is some text which is not Shakespeare's original.
Right. And
the playwright also brings in other Shakespearean texts, sonnets and things, other from outside of Romeo and Juliet into play. So in that way, it is sort of definitionally a very bag and baggage approach to Shakespeare. So it retains that kind of the spirit of the original play, but at the same time also retains a real bag and baggage approach to the way we like to sort of deal with the classics.
Yeah, it's not unlike your own adaptations in that way.
It's very similar, and Jen and I both have a long history. Jen and I have worked together for many years. She was one of the very first actors I ever worked with in Scotland, and she was a lead in a number of major adaptations that I did, and then she has gone on to adapt and direct her own major Shakespearean adaptations, so it feels like a really great combination of our interests in Shakespeare and in adaptation to do this play at this time.
Right, and while we're talking about how it appeals to the Shakespearean audiences, because it is such a strong adaptation, it leaps away. We hope it'll touch the contemporary audience too. Those who may not be normally an impassioned Shakespeare lover can still find a lot in this.
Absolutely. I mean, I had an opportunity to see the performance a couple of days ago, and it was incredible. I mean, even though it's 4 actors play, and they play all of the different roles, the story, the basic story, that incredibly youthful, dangerous, passionate approach to love and rejection of authority and all of those great themes that are found in Shakespeare are very true and very alive in this retelling. But it also in some ways becomes more real because it's in a context that we all know. It's in it's in school, it's a sort of high school scenario, and we know about that situation and about what it means to break the rules and to be afraid that you're going to get caught and to do something a little dangerous. So I think it'll really resonate with contemporary audiences as well, don't you think?
Absolutely. And there's also the universal theme of adolescence and maturing and those first steps into love and sex and discovering yourself, and we all go through that, and I think that resonates with everybody, which is why Romeo and Juliet is such an enduring play and why this particular adaptation I think works really well.
Right. While we're on the subject of love and sex, are there things about the play that the audience coming in should know in considering attending this production?
Well, they should know that it's 4 boys playing all the parts.
Like Shakespeare would have done in his
Exactly.
time. There would have been all men on stage playing Lady Capulet and Juliet and the nurse and all of that sort of stuff, so it's not that unusual to find men playing women's roles.
Not at all. In fact, I've been in a reverse production where it was all women, so...
Oh, wow.
And what I would say is, although it is not in any way explicit, the play addresses the themes of love and sex and sexuality and sensuality, and people should be aware of that when they come to see the play.
Not unlike the versions that we've done of Romeo and Juliet before. A number of years ago we did a production of Romeo and Juliet, and they fall in love and they have a passionate love affair, and their parents don't like that, and it's very dangerous and very edgy. And the fact that it's being played, the performance is featuring 4 male actors playing all of the roles. I mean, it's something for people to know, But in the end, they are playing Juliet, they are playing the nurse, they are playing Lady Capulet. So yeah, it's something I just think for people to keep aware of, but it's also something that's really exciting and really fascinating to watch, and it does sort of resonate, I think, with modern themes.
And as well as it being about, you know, love and sex, it is romantic. I think it's incredibly romantic and incredibly moving and beautiful. So.
Well, when I saw a snippet of the set, as it included will be. So, last question, Jennifer, maybe you can start. What do you hope the audiences will take away from this story, this production of Romeo and Juliet story?
I hope first and foremost that they will be moved, that they will find a connection to not only the characters of Romeo and Juliet, but the characters of the four students, the four boys. I think we have an incredibly strong cast of young actors who are both deeply committed and incredibly brave and energetic. And I think they give a performance that is intensely human and intensely moving and really exciting. It's wonderful to work with young, energetic actors who just throw themselves into it. And I think it's thrilling. It's thrilling for me, and I hope it will be thrilling for an audience.
Any final words?
Well, I just hope that people remember that this is what we do best. These sorts of provocative retellings, taking a traditional story and turning it upside down and really looking at it from a different perspective. I mean, that's the stuff that Bag and Baggage does better than anyone.
Right.
And this is going to be another example of a really provocative, sort of thoughtful, interesting, engaging, debate-provoking production of a classic. So, you know, anybody who's loved stuff that we've done before is going to love this show.
That's great.